Welcome back to Blackacre Ranch. We actually have a surprise and we wanted to pass along some news, but looks like the buffalo aren't quite cooperating. So we actually have some calves and we're trying to get you some looks, but they've been kind of reluctant to show themselves too much. We have only seen glimpses of them. The times that we see a glimpse is really when it comes that they transfer from here to there and they have to come through this gate and they walk through that gate and they get back over. So when we're sitting in our house and we look out our little windows here, we can see them crossing back and forth and we can get a good look at the animals. And we noticed that we have got some calves. We're gonna try and get some views today, but as you guys know, if you've been along with the channel for a while, that we've kind of struggled with this idea of why in the world do we not have calves until late in the year when they're all completely out of cycle than the typical season. So what I want to go over with you guys today is an update with the calves, kind of get some of these chores done as we're here, but also talk to you about breeding, bison breeding information or misinformation. The stuff that you hear that, you know, if I kind of look back at it, may not always be correct, and it's just that stereotypical information. So anyway, stick with us. Let's get some of these buffalo taken care of and see if we can get a calf or two or so to come on out. As a side bit, we actually had thought to sell all the animals, the whole herd, just sell them all to start young. If you remember a couple videos back, we kind of talked about this, and we were going to wait a couple months. So there was actually a buyer lined up, and the ladies had some signs of maybe being pregnant. It's really hard to tell, right? So we told them, look, I don't know that we can do this. We got to check some things. We called around anyway. Eventually we called the deal off because the ladies were just all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, looking super ready to have a calf. So that was number 8. She was one of those that was looking really ready. She hasn't had a calf yet. Mary, the one without horns, you'll see a little bit. She looks like she's going to explode, but she still hasn't had a calf. So anyway, we called the deal off because we don't want to be transporting buffalo right before they actually have a calf. You just don't want to jeopardize it from the stress of everything having a calf. So we called it quits. So anyway, let's get this Rio Max put and then let's go see what ladies show up. Hey Debbie, what's up, girlfriend? Debbie, you are holding out on us. She's so pretty though. She's always had just such a nice hump and body line to her. She's getting a little softer in the back end, actually, so that's good. Debbie is always one of those that like holds it tight until she actually gives birth. It's really weird. Number 8, we just saw you over the other gate, but you can see from her rear end, she's looking just like she's ready to go. So Rio Max has been dropped. We're gonna keep him in this pasture probably for maybe another week or so. I don't wanna go too long in here because I don't wanna destroy all this stuff. And we're gonna put them over into 4 and 5 where they've just been doing, they've already just destroyed all that, but I need to mow it first. And that is right, I'm still working on mowing, so we will mow that first because I don't want any calves sitting inside, sleeping in some little nest thing and I mow over them, right? It happens. Look at the udders on number 8, man. That's about as good as it gets right there, guys. Debbie doesn't have her udders down yet. She's not as far as long. And the parade of buffalo continues, right? We've got this whole line here. So this is Patricia, number 92. You can see that little mark on the side of her back right there. That's where she had a lot of fly issues, but she is one of the older ones. She always produces nice calves. She's not quite ready yet, but she looks like she's softening. Here is number 9, Nadine, I believe. Now, Bug will correct me where I'm wrong on all of these things, but she's a younger cow. I really like her. Man, she's soft. This one, number 2, I don't remember her name. She's getting soft. Alma? Barbara. And then this one is one I can't tell, but you can look at her back end and she's getting soft. This is Mary. Mary was like the matriarch of the entire herd. She's older. She has lost both her horns last year, but she typically will just balloon out at the back end. You can see that sucker. Her tail is now staying up all the time. She will sit like this for 2 months. She's been like this, but not as bad. She is getting bigger and bigger, but anyway, she is gonna have a calf sometime soon. Bringing up the rear of the 8 ladies that have showed up, I think this is Kisses. Kisses is one of our favorite cows. She's probably 7 years old. Anyway, her coat is always just so nice, right? Just nice. She's softened up to the back end, you can tell. She has a nice line on her, a nice gradual curve, where some of the others just have different looks to them, right? So Kisses, she also got some discharge. So looking at all these ladies, look, they're gonna have some calves soon and they are all getting close and showing signs. But we only have 8 of the 10 and the other 2 are just somewhere. I don't know, somewhere. So what that tells us is that we don't have any new calves today, obviously, because we've had these others. But we're gonna see if we can get them up here. The Rio Max and us driving around seem to work with these other ladies. I appreciate you coming to check me out, Mary. That sucker's just gonna slip right on out of there, isn't it? Holy shnikes, girlfriend. Rio Max is doing its job. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but we need to get to the elephant in the room. The whole reason why we're here is to talk about bison breeding information or misinformation. There are a few things actually that we have been told that we thought, you know what, since we have this herd situation, let's go over some things that we've heard that are not necessarily true, but that just kind of linger. If you guys recall, we have our whole herd completely out of cycle. They should be having their calves between the traditional times of April to May, June, maybe into July, and we obviously didn't have that happen. Last summer we had, not this just past one, but the year before, we had 4 done in April, May, early June, and then we had 7 done August, September, October. So we had this really weird schedule. Anyway, what causes that? How are we doing with this? We're racking our brains about what's going on. Well, I think we got some answers, as much as you can, right? About bison breeding information or disinformation. Not disinformation. There's a difference. Disinformation has a level of intent to deceive. I don't think people are doing that. It's misinformation. There's no intent to deceive, but it kind of is a topic that lingers. All right, so let's kind of give some general overlay of the land a little bit before we get into those 3 statements that may be misinformation or information, okay? So first of all, there are 2 factors that really affect whether or not a buffalo breeds. That is their health, and then the second one is like seasonal, if you want to call it like that. Traditional cycle. Buffalo are really molded well into the earthly cycle of things, right? With nature and everything else. So first, health. there's two players involved, a bull and the cows. The cows obviously have to be of good enough health, but so does the buffalo, okay? And their health changes throughout the year with the seasonal. So to kind of keep this straight a little bit, let's look at the seasonal side of things, okay? The second point. Seasonally, the earth goes through its solstices, all right? Its cycles, winter, summer, fall, spring, all that kind of stuff. The grasses grow spring. They can continue in the summer and into the fall, and then winter, everything goes dormant. The buffalo will cycle with that, I guess you can kind of say. So buffalo have the unique characteristic that they will go dormant, or their metabolism slows down in the winter when there's no food. And so what happens is they will start to lose weight, and you'll have a gain weight, lose weight cycle as you go through everything, okay? So wintertime, lack of food, not as many grasses, their metabolism slows down as a natural condition, so that way they don't have to burn as much. They can go less on feed. What's up, girlfriend? They hit the spring, new grasses come out, they gain weight that they lost during winter. The cows have their calves, they start getting sucked down with having to breed, like nurse. In the fall, when the calves start getting older, they don't nurse as much, the grasses are there, they gain their weight. The bull will lose weight in the summer because he's doing the rut, and then in the fall he's supposed to gain enough weight that when they hit the winter, they can slowly kind of do this. So it's really a seasonal raising and lowering of weights throughout the year, and everything blends pretty nice. So all of this is pretty much dependent on like their health, what the kind of food they get, okay? So when you look at their health, we as ranchers can say, well, we're gonna feed them grasses and any supplements that are needed. You have to look at the quality of that. You look at the minerals that they get. Are they getting all the minerals they're supposed to? And then you can even look at parasite load, right? Parasites will drag down the moms, and that their health is not so good. If you look at bad food or not a good enough food, you can see the body condition of the animal start to decrease. They get scrawnier. Parasites can cause that because they're causing problems with getting anything out of their food, right? Obviously. And you can see that drop. A silent one is maybe minerals. Minerals is one that maybe we overlook a lot, but isn't always readily super able to tell how bad it's affecting them, that it could affect breeding. So we have those two things: health by what you intake and feed them, and two is seasonal natural earth cycles. So bison breeding comment number one would be that the rut happens between the middle of July and the beginning of September, as if it's like a calendared event. That's just when the animals instinctively start to say, I'm gonna cycle, I'm gonna mate, I'm gonna do all my stuff as a bull, all that stuff. So my experience has been that there are animals that breed January. There's some that breed March. There's some that breed October. There's some that breed every freaking time of year. And so I kind of ask myself, well, isn't it true that it's always really between July and August? I mean, isn't that typically when animals have their calves, is April through June? And then after 2 to 3 months of having that calf, they come into heat again. Well, I think what happens is we got to stop looking at breeding for the rut as being a set calendared event, and it's just really when the ladies are ready to breed again, okay? So where did this kind of come up as being like, I don't know, the standard thought is, I don't know, we probably took some random herd somewhere up north where it's nice and cold and everything else, but, and then applied it to everybody, okay? I think we have to look at this as being like a latitude basis, right? Like right now, our temperatures are in the 50s. That's probably like upper North Dakota and Canada and some of Montana's summer condition, okay? We are not nearly as cold. Our grasses can last longer throughout the year. And so they can maintain health longer. Even in winter, there's more of a supply of grasses that we can do by planting winter grass, right? I think that time frame may be modeled after a northern climate herd, but I don't think it's so much a cold temperature thing. I don't think it's necessarily so much a lunar thing. I don't think it's so much as like as how much light is available kind of thing. Because I could tell you what, well, I don't know if I should say it, the darkness never stopped me from trying to breed. I'll tell you that. So I don't think it's gonna stop Ahmed or anybody else to try and breed, okay? I think it really happens where the animals are kind of ready to breed. All right, while they're fighting over their minerals and their Rio Max, I will tell you number two. Number two is that the women only come into heat during the rut. Now this is kind of like the first one where I kind of think is false, to be honest with you. Here, I'll let you go. There you go. All right, I think I'm blocking everybody else, but the women come into heat when they're ready to come into heat, okay? If they follow their seasonal cycles, it matches very well with a gestational period of 9 months, and the grasses grow, and then metabolism goes down in the winter and all that other stuff, that it matches very well. God has intended for these guys to have their calves April, May, June. However, they can go into heat any time of year. It doesn't really matter, and it's not set to just being July, August, and September. So that leads you to the point where you can actually have a calf in October. You can have a calf, well, freak, it's December, right? We're already having calves in December. Remember the points that I brought up earlier about their feed and when the grasses are good and everything else like that. As long as they have good food and they're not pregnant and they're healthy, they can cycle and breed again. Aw, Debbie, you're being super feisty, girlfriend. So it's really, I think the predominant factor is the woman's health, the cow's health. When they're ready to breed, they'll breed. And when their health is good, they'll do it. I don't care what the time of the year or season is. All right, number 3. Now this has kind of come up because we are in the market for a new bull. And when we first got our animals and we put them all together, it was told to us that it takes time for the ladies, don't leave me all just yet, ladies. It takes time for the ladies to accept a new bull. And you can't just stick a bull in with the cows and they'll get knocked up like that, that you got to give them time, at least 6 months, and even then you're not sure. Now I will say that there is some truth to this that I have seen, that ladies, these cows, the bison cows, will have to accept. There is not like, it's not like the bull forces himself on these ladies. The cows do accept the bull. And so it is kind of a choice system, if you want to call it like that. But the question is, does it take 6 months? And I would say no. Now we have a friend who's not too far away that he had a herd of cows he had just assembled and kind of put together a herd, maybe a year or two, and put a new bull in with them. And they started having calves in November, which means they bred themselves January, February. Well, he dropped the bull in with them January, and within a month or two, they're all bred and they start having calves this year in November. So is it true you need to wait 6 months? No, it isn't. Is it true that the ladies will just reject the guy for that long? No. But I think what happens is, you can kind of look at it this way. In his sense, maybe he had a herd that was kind of newly put together. There wasn't a structure there. There wasn't an existing bull with him a long time, perhaps. And so maybe it was easier to accept a bull. Well, if the herd is established and it has the structure to it, and you swapped out the bull, maybe there's a little bit more time that they need to adjust and so forth. I don't know. But in general, I'd say that's probably misinformation. A bull will breed when a bull wants to breed, when the ladies are accepting of them, when they're in heat. It's just going to happen. So where does that bring us to our situation? You know, frankly, the answer for our situation is, I don't freaking know, man. I really don't. We were supposed to have calves 7 months ago, and the entire herd is delinquent, right? So we had sold one of our bulls the year prior, and we had one remaining who had been with the herd the entire time, but did not breed, and the entire girls didn't breed. So I go back and look, how was our grass? Our grass was actually good that year. How was the temperatures? Seasonally, it was not super hot. There shouldn't have been a reason they shouldn't have bred. They've been on Rio Max as a supplement, which has the mineral in with it, and they had the salt. They've had good water. We supplemented throughout the year. At any time that they started looking like they were kind of decreasing from the kind of hay or the grasses that they were getting. So in general, they kept really good health. As long as they're in good health, they should have kept the seasons, and they should have been bred. Like, seasonally doesn't make sense, and health-wise, they were all really good health. So I think it really was the depression, right? Ahmed, I know I said it before, but Ahmed was born with his brother, lived with his brother. They were together all the time. And when we took him away, Ahmed slowly started to separate himself from the rest of the herd. Come on, girlfriend, you can come in. Debbie's really working that sucker. But Ahmed separated himself a while, and he didn't really engage with the ladies a lot. And so we separated him in January, and they should have been starting to breed again in July, but he just, I think he just was not wanting to be with the other ladies. The buffalo are they're social animals. They have a structure, they have a family tie, and I think they have more emotion and feelings than sometimes we give animals credit for. When you shoot an animal, they all come over to say their respects, to check on the animal. They know of each other, they're aware of each other and their conditions. And so it's not like they're just robots that sit out here that eat a lot, right? So I think in our situation really just comes down to, I think Ahmed was depressed and just didn't get engaged with it the whole time. In the meantime, the animals kept cycling. And about February to March is when finally, after the winter and they're done hibernating, if you want to call it like that, metabolism slowed, they then, bam, got pregnant right quick. And now we have our calves that are going here. This is going to mean that we're going to miss 2026 calves, because these are our 2025/26 calves. So we're just going to miss a few. There's Kisses again. But yeah, so I think that's what's happening. So anyway, those are the 3 topics, right, that we covered. Misinformation or good information. You know, what do you guys think? Is rut really just a calendar event? I say no. I think it's whenever animals come into heat, that's when that's when the rut is. That's when the bulls get feisty. Do women only come into heat, or do the bison cows only come into heat during the windowed calendar event of the rut? No, they cycle all the time. It's just in their normal cycle, they would typically get pregnant during that summer, because that's between calving and before winter. And so that's just what always standardized looks up. But when in ranches, when you have good feeds all year round, when you have temperatures that are different all year round and it's not as hot, cold, you know, you can have animals go off cycle. And the last one, bull, it doesn't matter, man. Put a bull with a cow, if she's in heat, I'm sure he will do his job. That's just what bulls do. Just don't get them depressed like we had. So what are we gonna do from here? Well, let's show you. We've got some minerals and we've got some safeguard cubes. We're gonna tell you what's going on and why we're doing it. But man, ladies, you guys are all over in our business. All right, let's get some of these things over and let's see if we can get them.
Go on, Mary. Go on.
Come on, Mary.
Come on.
All right, let's get this wire rack out of the way.
Yeah, Debbie on the far side, Mary right here. I think that's Ann, number 8. Maybe, but Mary, man, girl.
So because of their calving in this late in the year, we can't work the cows come January. The calves will just be way too young. So this is gonna be the way to worm them. All right, so now we've got ourselves some Redmond salt minerals. Bison 90, this stuff we've had for 4 years?
Yeah, probably.
Something like that. So we're gonna put some of this out, even though the Rio Max has mineral. Going forward, what I wanna try is, we know we've had good grasses. They have been, we test all of our supplement or hay. We've tested grasses before and they've maintained good condition, because I want to see how much they go after that mineral versus the Rio Max. And is it worth having a supplemental mineral to the side along with the Rio Max just to ensure they have all their mineral, that kind of thing, right? Mineral being that silent thing that maybe we don't, as producers, put enough stock into about its value. I put a pile. I'm gonna see how much it's eaten. She's over it right now, but she's not eating it. But I wanna see how much that in the next day or so is gone through. So see what they select more of. So that's it. That's our buffalo. We won't be able to have any working videos, as I said, but we'll keep monitoring these guys and get you some pictures of some of these calves. All we can use right now is binoculars, and that gets us the best views that we can, right? Except when they pass through. So
Oh, you little bugger.
We appreciate you guys joining along with us and listening to our breeding topics and conversations and what we're kind of working through. And hopefully these animals will continue on forward, having tons of calves in the near future, and we can get you tons of pictures. All right, stick with us. We'll catch you next time at Blackacre Ranch. Bye.